Hello, IK here. Welcome to from address input to on-screen user interface. Here it is. NPM start, it is same as address input for web application. Enter NPM start. And in process is opening React application on the screen. Okay, finished. Here it is. This is our application, React Redux application. In upper part of this screen is add a new post form. And in previous video, I explain add new post. Below of that is post list component. Add post form component is up, and down below of that is post list component. This moment we have two posts in post list. That post, two posts coming from a mock server, a remote mock server, where is an array called named post. And that array, momentarily there is only two posts, post 1 and post 2. In this video, I want to explain process, what happened from npm start to this moment visibility user interface on the screen. Let's get started. After entering address in address bar, or here in Visual Code Studio, npm start, first loading from npm from node server. Now in my computer there is a node server. First from node server, where lay my application, loaded to browser first index.html. Here it is in public folder, index.html. It is like some layer hypertext transfer protocol. It is part like we know from before, where complete page, web page, index home page, in this situation it is index.home.html, that home page upload to browser. It is a classical web pages interaction between web server and the web browser, and where a page is rendered on the server. That pages is coming complete finished from server, and we have it like and created document object model. And that page we see if we call view source in in user interface. Right click, view source. Here it is. This is index.html. We can see that here, and we can see that index.html in our code in editor. Okay, here is a little zooming, and we can see all this part head will be seen in all view of our React Redux application. Okay, and go to down. Important here is only one element in body. Finished of body. Here it is. In body, we have HTML element div ID equal root. It is empty div. And after loading index.html, it is the last classical happening, because after loading index dot, all other is about JavaScript, and all other is real React. It is like some layer traditional who support traditional communication in hypertext transfer protocol between a React application and browser and our entering of address. And this element is important. Why? Because through that element, we will see actual document object model. It means we have a single page document object model. It is what we see through view page source. And we have actual document object model. It is two separate document object model what lay in memory, and we see both. I said we see head of this part of all this. We see this part of heading, and we see body, but in body we see div element, we see this element, and inside of div element, here it is, we will see actual document object model. But div ID root is empty here. But we have actual document object model. Here is actual document object model. On the screen, it is this add new post form, post, we have two posts. It is actual document object model, but is not visible in this page source. Don't visible. Page source always the same, and Google search engine see source, page source. It means Google search engine don't see and don't have in base content, don't have actual document object model, and don't have not access to our content of our React application. Here is a div. Here it is title. Here it is empty div. We don't see actual, but this is actual. We don't see it. We can see that if we press type F12, and here in the right pane of the window, we can expand, and you see we have doc type, HTML, head. We have complete head from single page document object model from index.html. it is complete heading. We have complete index.html plus here in elements, clicking here, we can see document object model here. We can see actual document object model. Expand and expand again, add new post, form below that form. And in second section, we have post, and in post there is a post one, content of post one, there is a post two, content of post two, and all is visible. But it is not, it is not of search engine access. Search engines of Google search engines don't have access here. Okay, we now know situation, what happened in Grow landscape. We see on the screen actual document object model. It means that React application, there is more, not only one document object model. There is a document object model, what we call single page application, because always see single page, always see single document, HTML document, same, nothing new. And that new, it is actual document object model, and search engines don't see it, and it is not, of course, good for content-rich web application. But of course, there is a lot of possibility to rendering content, rendering component on the server, and in that situation, it is like traditional web browser, web development. When page is finished, web page is finished, render it in on the server and send to browser finished product of web page, and it is visible. It is visible document object model of that concretely page, and it is visible to search engine. Okay, it is a key moment, first moment, where we see that the React application, product of React application, running on browser. But first, I must say that after index.html loaded in our in browser, that document call index.js. Index.js. It means index.html, classic of home page in classic web development, call index.js. It is normal. It is from first vanilla JavaScript manipulate with document object model in this situation of index.html, and that document object model index.html after loading calls JavaScript. It is always like that because JavaScript must have complete loaded document object model, and after that loaded and manipulate, cannot load it before of that, and always document object model call JavaScript. In web development, it is a standard always process. HTML document call the JavaScript document. In this situation, index.js. And with that index.js coming on the browser, complete our React application, and start process what we see now. Start process to final stage, refreshing, rendering component, and the visibility of creation of actual document object, and the visibility on the screen. How it happened, we see here index.js. Index.js is entry point in our React application. In this situation, entry point in a React Redux application. Here is import provider, import React. React from package React, it is library. We need a React library, and we must import that here. And the import create root, we will see, it is import from React DOM client package, create root. Import provider, provider is coming here, import from a React Redux package. It means that provider provide state manager Redux provide to our React application. Because of that, provider provide our React application, provide Redux architecture, Redux application, separate application, what manage state. It is state manager, global state manager in React application. And it is provided. And store, it is something what we code. Store is a main part of Redux. Provider must coming from React Redux, because provider give us element what connect React Redux, and must be in both sides, must have access to both sides. It is a dispatch method, and use selector, use dispatch function, and use selector function. About that later. And store is main part of Redux, and it coming from store. And here is import app component is the topic or a button component in React. Here in this situation, all other component what we have would be child, would be inside of app component. And after that, import all that what we import, we need here in index.js. At first, we declare object container and assign to that object, look at our div element, HTML element from index.html document. This document, this JavaScript script document is object. What is it? It is index.html. It is document. And the get element method, every document object, get element by ID, it is method what get element by ID, in this situation root, must be root ID. It is div, what we have in index.html. That div is named, there is ID root. It means that container, object container is div element, HTML div element. This is example where we abstract HTML element. HTML document and HTML element, it is physically lay in the memory, and we abstract concretely element, abstract in this statement. Object container is abstraction of div element, id root. Next, we declare object root and assign create root function parameter container. What is it? It is our application. It is a React application. A React application. Who create that React application? Create root. Who give us that function create root? Give us here import create root from React DOM client package. Can we see a script of that create root? What is it? It is function, but we don't see script of that. We don't know nothing in background of that. But we know use it, create root. We write here, open parenthesis and parameter container. Without, it is not a string, it is a name of variable. It is variable. What variable? Container. What is container? Div document root. It means that React application here created by create root. It is that function what we give like present, what coding, scripting for us. It is something excellent for developers, and it is declarative programming. We know what we want, but we don't need interested how we go to that. And it is create root to know how to show actual document object model inside of div root. Inside of div root. How to create this object, this application React, and how organize complete process that result. What is the result? Rendered component. Result of React coming would be visible inside of div element named root, but not be visible in page source, not be visible Google search engine, but would be visible in when we press key F12 and we see that in the right part of the screen we can see that it. But never mind about visibility. Important is that create root made what name said. Create root. What is root? React application. What is container parameter? Create root need that parameter. And for creation of React application, for to know through what show actual document object model, but again, it would not be visible in single page application document object model. And when we have a React application, we render it, method render, this root React application, fundamental React application, dot render. There is a method render. How we know that root there is a method render? You know, learning from sourcing, you know that now you know that declarative programming, you don't need to know all about background, nothing about how, but to know what we want. We want root render, and we write and script it root.render. We know that now we learn from our learning sources, and we write it. But we understand that in declarative programming, all is background what we don't need type, what typing for us authors of React. Okay, root.render, and the render method for parameter of render method, there is this element. Provider, it is React element, what coming from React element provided from package React Redux. And props of React element provider, props we name store because it is object store, equal object store. Assign to props store, this is props store, short of properties, assign a variable store. And that variable store, I said, it is main part of Redux. And in store, main part of store is a reducer. Reducer. It means that provider is wrap. Provider, this provider open close. This React element, also called object. In a React, it is object. That object, there is a properties store, equal store, but it is from a Redux store. It is concretely that main part of Redux, and provider wrap up our fundamental component. Fundamental component up, and it is order command render up wrapped inside provider. And look at now, execute rendered provider means rendered props, rendered store. Rendered store means processing store, means processing complete complete element inside of store, and it is a reducer. Reducer. Let's get C. Reducer. Let's get C. Reducer is post slice. Here it is, and all what we see here. And a lot of time we come in here and explain, but all here is reducer. A reducer. What is reducer? We spoke, but reducer, there is function what have two input state and input action, and have only one output. Output is state, and that state is global state, and every component in React can be subscribed to that global state. In our situation, it is post. It is post, array post inside of what is members is post. But in this React Redux application, it is object, must be object. It means that object there is three properties. One is post, it is array post and remote server. Second is status and error. Why we need when use Redux, why we need object with three properties? Because Redux is full flag state management. Redux cannot go out asynchron. Don't understand asynchron. And Redux send asynchron function tank, and that function tank must inform Redux what happened in asynchron process, what happened with the state. And that tank is with one arm in synchronized process, one arm in asynchron, because that tank know how dispatch information, dispatch action, pending type, dispatch action fulfilled, or dispatch action type rejected. But all about that later. Here is post slice, it is reducer. And here is a store. Here is a store, and it is configure store function. That function configure store, configure store, configure store. And it means that store, this moment in our application, there is only one reducer, post, plural, post reducer, because object, global object is, there is three properties in our situation. But what we see on the screen, post, what we see on the screen is in properties props. Okay, we can see post slice. Here it is, post slice. There is initial state. You cannot create a reducer without state, because of that there is an initial state. We look at it is object. Curly brackets means it is object. Properties post is empty array. Properties status is idle. And properties error is null. Idle and null. Idle is a string, and there is a quote inside quote, and the null is keyword. It is not a string. Because of that, there is no quote. It means that initial state exists. Initial state exists. It is a global initial state. It is important when we get back to index. When we get back to index.js, it means that store import post slice and store props store equal variable store. It means that executed store is executed in this provider element, because render calling that provider, and calling that provider means execution or rendering that provider, processing that provider. Processing that provider means processing props variable store. Processing variable store means creation of initial state. And now, when starting rendering of app, we have a complete Redux existing in our application, running with store, with reducer, with initial state. All is finished, and our component, fundamental component, can start to render it, but we go to C app. Here it is app.js component. There is a toChild component, nothing but toChild. Add post form component, post list post list component. At post form, there is only initial rendering, and we have a previous video, I think, about add post form. Now, after finished rendering at post form, go rendering post list. Child must be rendered first, and after that, after post list finished, we have up component, fundamental parent component up rendered, finished rendering, and that moment we see on the screen we see this. We see add form. It is add form component, and this is post list component. It is very interesting rendering of post list. F12. You see, we have this in console, rendered add post form rendered, post list rendered, app.js rendered, finally. And now detail about post list. Post list first rendering, initial rendering. Every component always have initial rendering. It is like we must declare a variable in JavaScript, and after that use that variable. We cannot use variable what we not declare, and it is initial. Initial rendering means that after that we have declared all state and all function what we need. Maybe uncommon terms declare function. But now, when we are in functional programming, and where is object equal function and function equal object, I like to use declaring function, and maybe better terms is define function. But for me is excellent to say declaring function, because function is equal object, object equal function. It means that state that initial rendering of post list we have array empty, it is post, and props post. Our state is object with the 3 props. It is post, empty array, idle is status, and error is null. After initial rendering, we have in post list, we have re-rendered because we have use effect function. And after every rendering, so after initial rendering, we have component was mounted. And the component was mounted always call use effect. Dependency in use effect means does it would be execute or not. And okay, now after initial rendering, we have calling use effect, and use effect activate in use effect, we have arrow function, and would be activate, would be calling dispatch dispatch tank function. About that dispatch tank function, dispatch tank function named fetch post, it would be separate video, continue, but now stay here and look at in post. And after second rendering, we will have error if all is good on the server, mock server. We have error if something wrong, or we have fulfill complete list of posts and see them on the screen. It is finished uh, second rendering, but I said now wrong, because after initial rendering and starting re-rendering, because of use effect and sending tanh function, that tanh function dispatch action type pending. It is waiting to finish the process, asynchronous process. And in that pending type action, we have a state array also empty because it is pending time. Loading is status, and null is error. After finished process, and if it is all okay, like now, we have tanh function send dispatch action type fulfilled, and payload would be complete array from remote, and that payload would be concat with the existing copy of existing state, and new state would be complete list of posts and would be visible on the screen. It would be last third rendering. Again, initial rendering. After that, use effect activate dispatch tanh function, and that tanh function dispatch action type pending. It is second rendering because changes idle status change to loading. It is reason for re-rendering. And after that, we have full of array, and it is reason because array was empty, now is full. It was reason for third rendering, but post list, there is a child named the export rendered, post excerpt rendered. And every time, and now, not every time, but that third full list, when coming full list of post, post by post go in post excerpt, because post excerpt is component for one post. And because we have two posts, we have two times rendering post excerpt element. Two times for every post one rendering. And after rendering post excerpt child, rendered post list. But there is some algorithm about rendering and re-rendering, and post list waiting that complete complete array post by post would be rendered. It means child component post excerpt would be rendered in this time two times, and after that finished rendering of post list. We can see post list. Post list. Post list, but this moment post list, here is a post excerpt. And post list is, look at post excerpt, there is input post, singular. And here, We will see that in detail in some video. But now post list is interesting because of this use effect and activation of dispatch fetch post. And this part, dispatch fetch post, we continue in some of next video about fetch post. And here is interesting content. What we see would be loading. We see only loading for pending type action. And for succeeded status, we will see complete list of, you look at post excerpt component. I would stop this moment in this video. For this video, it is enough. But I have to say again what I start to talk about in every video almost, because there is a very there is a little coding, there is a little JavaScript here, but long, too many talking, a lot of explanation, because declarative programming. Declarative programming only show and ask from us that we write some small part of the code, and all other would be solved in background. Here in this process, we see post slice, we see create asynchron tank, we see in index.js, we see that root render, we see that create root function, and here in post list, we see in post list, we see that part of the code. But there is a big story, big explanation about this use effect. And for example, why we need arrow function, use effect, and always parameter is arrow function, because this post list, every component, and post list also, there is initial rendering. If we have this directly, or we have this directly, it would be execute in initial because it is function call. Dispatch, it is script for function call. And inside parameter is function call. But we have dispatch like outer function. And the initial rendering would be activate, would be called that dispatch fetch post. But it is not ready for that. All other, we must have initial rendering of post list to declare post list to declare existing state. And look at, we declare props of our state. It is props post by user selector. Use selector is a hook function. It is function, and parameter of that function is state post. Post here is object post, and post is properties, and state is a store state. Also, status is status, and error is error. We declared it. It is our declaration of post is by use selector connected to a global state object post. And every changes in object post in global in Redux store immediately would be visible, would be assigned to our variable here post status and error. And of course, initial rendering, it is initial state. Post would be empty array, status would be idle, and error would be null. And here is status must be idle. It is satisfied, and it is one. And this right side, dispatch fetch post, also it is always one because it is always calling function. And without arrow function, it would be called immediately. Of course, this status in dispatch, it is dependency. And if status changes, would be called use effect. If dispatch changes, would be called use effect. But this condition don't permit every changes of status calling use effect. Don't permit every dispatch call use effect. Only must be status idle. And we will see that we take care about status idle, that we have only one times activate use effect. And after that activation, status idle is 1, dispatch is 1, and we have dispatch features. But in initial rendering, not possible activate dispatch because it is encapsulated in arrow function and must be execute arrow function, but arrow function not declare. And in parameter, here it is definition, or I like to say the declaration. It is declaration of arrow function. At first, initial rendering of post list, its initial rendering is processing. When process execution coming on here, it is definition of arrow function. It is initial. It means we in initial rendering, we have declaration initial state, and initial state is waiting from us. It is in provider execute. And now we have, after initial stating, we have a ready arrow function declared, and declared or state, post status error. We have declared. And in re-rendering, when use effect is called, parameter would be execute because exist is declared. And execution of parameter arrow function means execution script inside of body of arrow function. In body of arrow function, there is two parameter. One is this conditional expression, and the second is array. Members of array is dependency. About what use effect depend of status and dispatch. Status changes, dispatch changes, but use effect would not be called because only this time we have status equal idle. After fetch post, we will see, we continue it in the next video. We will see that fetch post have dispatch, to dispatch, and both dispatch we changes status. First time is loading, second time is succeeded, and it is not idle. In any cases, we have not idle. Status idle is only this time after initial rendering. We have only status equal idle. All after that, we have not status equal idle. But I can go now. But you can watch this video in. You can create how many in more parts. But fetch post is tank. Dispatch fetch post. Fetch post we must go to see in post slice. Fetch post is tank. Fetch post, post slice. Post slice is reducer. Fetch post is here. We declare fetch post here, and I said, and I would say it again, Redux is state manager. In our application, it is post state. It is object with the post array, status, and error. And Redux only understands synchronized process. JavaScript is a single thread language, and Redux is also a JavaScript library and architecture of state manager. And Redux is also in that single thread, but in this situation, JavaScript and React application must take data from outside, from remote server, must take post, array post with post, and must go asynchronous. And because of that, Redux in Redux library, there is a middleware code. I somewhere read that it is 53 statement, and in that middleware coding, there is a tank function, and that tank function go out from single thread of JavaScript, go out, go asynchronous. But better say that tank function organize all that process, and that tank function is created by asynchron tank. And that tank function, here it is fetch post, that tank function must dispatch information about asynchron process, about state. And first dispatch pending type action, after that fulfilled or rejected. And all that dispatching is synchronized. It means tank function is organizer asynchron process and dispatch through synchronized dispatch inform Redux about state. And state is pending type, fulfilled or error rejected. It is possible information about state in asynchron process, and creates asynchron tank that does all that, make all this. There is that create asynchron tank, created tank by this data. Parameter must be post fetch post. It is part of action type. It is a name part for name of action type. Action type would be fetch, post, through pending, fetch, post, through fulfilled, fetch, post, through reject. Here is one parameter. Second parameter, asynchron arrow function. And in body of asynchron arrow function, we have a request, asynchron request. It is get asynchron request. That asynchron request and that asynchron request get immediately when started return promise object. Promise object receive response data, unwrap, or better say wrap response data, and that response data there is okay, there is response data, but that process get there is not immediately execute. There is some time, and in that time, immediately when starting, tanh function dispatch action type pending. And if it is all okay, after that, dispatch fulfilled. When this request, asynchron request to server for that array, when coming from server coming response, that moment activate tanh activate dispatch fulfilled dispatch dispatch status succeeded and dispatch action type fulfilled. And the promise object there is a response data, and that response data, it is action payload. It is action payload, and down to extra reducer, down in extra reducer, that action payload, here it is, action payload would be concat state post. It is initial state, concat with action payload, but concat with copy of actual state. Actual state, there is 3 props, and 1 props is post. And concat with that empty post, we have a full list of post, and we have visible on the screen that full list. When status is succeeded, like here, we have in post list map all post list, content what we see. When status is succeeded, we have a map of array post, and through that map we have rendering that post excerpt component. It is every post inside it, there is a post excerpt component, and we will see on the screen post list, all post. If don't be loading and succeeded status, we will see error message. Okay. Many of part of this my explanation would need again explanation, and explanation by every video would be for one small part of explanation of this process. But I like give all this in this video for some compact, complete load, complete path, complete process from entering address in browser to see content on the screen, to see content on the screen. That picture would be complete, I would said that uh, React application, there is a third document object model. It is a virtual document object model. And it is some light version. What is inside of execution of JavaScript and very, very fast react on every changes in state. And by some very smart algorithm, compare actual document object model with virtual and update actual document object model. Update actual document object model. And and now you know all process. React, there is a 3 document object model. Single page application document object model, always visible. Actual document object model, never visible to search engine, and virtual document model, document model object. Okay, if you know somebody that need a video like that, send him your thinking about this. If you need like, subscribe, all that is information for me, for other visitors. More visitors, more comments means more knowledge, more better learning for all us. Thank you for watching this video.